Hi everyone, I've been diving with this boss of a woman right here.
Hi, I'm Devlina. I've been an instructor for the past 7 years. I did my course right from open water to instructor in New Zealand. Well, I've been here on the island since 2017. Now we have our own dive center, Octopus Garden.
She has been taking me for my open water and advanced open water courses. She has taught me how to dive and she's made us had so much fun. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Basically, I've requested Devlina to do this with me because before starting my open water course, I had a ton of questions and I didn't exactly have the information available to me. I wanted you to help me out so that I can make all of this information available to anyone who is still deciding as to how they should start learning scuba diving, where, when, how much does it cost, and all of those questions.
The first level of certification in scuba diving is the open water course, followed by the advanced open water course. For both of these courses, before starting with the dives, you need to complete the e-learning, which is basically a theory portion to gain some basic knowledge about scuba diving. It is a combination of written material and videos. After learning each topic, you need to answer a few questions, and at the end of the course, you need to take a final exam. Once you book your course, your dive center will give you access to the e-learning material, and ideally, you should complete it at home before you travel for your course.
Basically, the open water course consists of 5 confined water dives where we practice a bunch of skills just to get comfortable. And once we are finished with that, we do 4 open water dives. And by the end of it, you're certified to dive up to 18 meters. And then once you finish this, you can do your advanced open water course, which basically has 5 adventure dives, out of which deep dive and navigation is compulsory over there. And there are 3 more adventure dives, elective dives that you can basically choose from a bunch of adventure dives.
Ideally, how many days would a person require? 3 to 4 days for open water?
2 days for advance. So I would say like 6 days is a good time to do everything comfortably.
I believe there's something like if you are diving, you can't fly within a certain number of hours.
Ideally, you should give it a break of 18 hours, 18 to 24 hours. So what happens is when we are diving, we are breathing compressed air underwater. The nitrogen that is present in air, it gets mixed up in our bloodstream. When we are flying, we are going at an altitude. That basically reacts with the nitrogen residue that is already present in our body. So we need to give our body that time for the nitrogen residue to get out of our system.
Is it something you have to do even while you fly in?
No.
Okay, so let's say if I'm flying on Monday morning,
You can start diving
on
on
Monday morning.
Absolutely.
And let's say if I'm diving on Friday afternoon, then Saturday afternoon is ideally when I should be
time
flying.
to yes.
So would you also recommend a buffer day if I'm choosing to do like 6 days?
That would be nice if you can take out the time.
Recommended but not compulsory.
Yes.
Just in case we fall sick.
You can't dive in your cold because your sinuses are not clear. You won't be able to equalize underwater.
Just for any contingency.
Exactly.
It's nice to have one buffer day because it would be really sad if you came all the way and that one dive is left and you can't complete your certification because of that.
That has happened before with students because they did not have that extra day. They had a flight to catch. So just because they, yeah.
How much does it cost in India to do an open water and an advanced open water?
An open water course would cost you anywhere between 25,000 to 32,000 depending where you're doing it from or which dive center. Same goes for the advanced course as well, anywhere between 24,000 to 32,000.
Do dive centers give you a club discount if you do it together?
Mostly they do. We give a package deal if you're doing both the open water and advanced back to back.
Where in India should I learn how to dive?
In India, you have a bunch of places where you can dive. Andaman's definitely tops the list.
I testify.
Not because I work here, live here, but it's just that we have a variety of dive sites over here. They're all different from one another. You get to see different marine life from reef fishes to the big guns, your mantas, rays, sharks. We have everything. The diversity that you're going to find over here, you're not going to find anywhere else. Visibility wise, I would say Andaman's is the best, hands down. I think we are just spoiled over here now. Like over here, we get a 10-meter whiz and we say it was poor visibility. But someone else coming in, let's say from Goa, and they see like a 5-meter visibility and they're like, wow, what are you guys complaining about? Otherwise, Lakshadweep is also not coming up. I have not dived over there, but it's going to be good. It's a beautiful island.
Andaman and Lakshadweep, being islands and being remotely located, are obviously the best diving locations in India. They are pristine and untouched, so the type of visibility, marine life, and the general diving you will experience there cannot be compared to the dive locations on the Indian mainland. But do keep in mind that again, since Andaman and Lakshadweep are islands, it's expensive to reach there because you have to fly there, you can't really take a train. And because of their remote location, more often than not, you will have to take connecting flights, and these flights are pretty expensive. Lakshadweep especially can be pretty hard to get to with limited flight options, and you also require a permit to go there, so you can't exactly plan it overnight. If you had to compare Andaman and Lakshadweep, although they're pretty similar in terms of beauty, but Lakshadweep is relatively new on the tourism and the diving map. So the number of dive centers in Lakshadweep are a lot less as compared to Andaman. And in general, the overall infrastructure and the stay options, etc., is also a lot limited in Lakshadweep as compared to Andaman.
Otherwise, near to Goa, there is a place called Murdeshwar. Visibility is again quite average, but you still have decent marine life over there. Goa visibility is not that great. The water is quite murky over there.
What about the marine life?
Okay-ish, quite average, below average diving, I would say. When you come down to the east coast, it's actually one of few places, Pondicherry and Chennai, where you can spot whale sharks during the season time when the whale sharks are migrating.
That's only for a particular season. Apart from the season?
It's okay. Pondi, one good thing that they have done is they have these artificial reefs over there. So those are growing now. Quite a bit of corals and marine life has started to come in over there. Visibility is also again quite average over there.
In Pondicherry?
Yes. Chennai, it's again murky water.
So
Pondi is a little better.
So we have Goa, Pondicherry, Chennai, Andaman, Lakshadweep. Can you quickly put this in order for me? Can we compare Lakshadweep and Andaman, or is it more or less the same?
More or less the same.
So Andaman, Lakshadweep.
Yes.
Then?
Maybe Pondi, Netrani, Chennai, Goa.
Okay. What is the best time to dive in Andaman?
Anytime between November to May, June is a good time to dive. The conditions are fairly nice. Visibility wise, if you look at it, March and April is definitely the best time. It's mostly no wind, so the sea is flat, so it's really good.
What about other locations in India? Best time to dive?
Avoid the monsoon period, I will say. Some places shut down diving entirely in the monsoons, like Goa. But over here in the monsoons, we still dive and still we have average visibility, which is still good.
Now within Andaman, there are 3 places where you can learn scuba diving: Havelock, Neil and Chidiya Tapu. Now to reach Havelock or Neil, you need to take a boat from Port Blair, but Chidiya Tapu you can go by road also. You can't really compare the 3 of them in terms of the beauty of the dive sites because they are located in more or less the same geographical location. So when it comes to visibility, marine life and the beauty of the dive sites, they are more or less the same. But if you really have to nitpick and if you have to compare, then I've heard that Neil has slightly better visibility and slightly better corals, and Havelock on the other hand is said to have marginally more marine life. But if you dive in Neil, there are chances of you spotting this very rare marine mammal called the dugong. Because Havelock is the most popular tourist destination in Andaman, the infrastructure is well developed there, so there are a lot of resorts, a lot of restaurants. It's a lot more lively as compared to Neil and Chidiya Tapu. And when it comes to dive centers, you can literally have your pick because there are so many of them. Chidiya Tapu on the other hand, there are only 2 dive centers there as of now, and it's kind of remote, so there are not a lot of resorts either. And in general, it's a little isolated and quiet, and there's not a lot to do there. But one plus point of diving in Chidiya Tapu is you will have all of the dive sites to yourselves. More often than not, you will be the only group that will be diving at the dive sites in Chidiya Tapu. Neil on the other hand is somewhere in between Havelock and Chidiya Tapu. Less crowded and happening than Havelock, but more than Chidiya Tapu. Havelock especially can get pretty crowded in the season time, and whichever dive site you go to, there will be at least 3 to 4 groups other than you. No doubt that some of the Asian countries closer to India have absolutely beautiful dive sites, and you're probably considering doing your course from an Indonesia, Thailand or a Maldives. And the cost of doing your certification from some of these countries is also more or less the same as doing it in India. It may be marginally more expensive by like 10 or 20%, especially if you include the cost of accommodation and food. No doubt that these places are absolutely beautiful to dive in, but there are some more factors that you should consider. Although these countries may feel accessible, the better dive sites in these countries may not be centrally located, and you might have to visit the internal parts for better dive locations. Although English is widely spoken in most of the Asian countries, your dive instructor may not be proficient in English. And especially if you're looking to do your course in a vernacular language, if you're more comfortable in a Hindi or a Tamil, then you might be much better off learning in India. It's a lot easier to get scammed when you are in a different country. It's hard to verify the dive center, it's harder to get references, it's harder to get opinions from people who may have dived there before. On an international vacation, you're most likely going to be short on time. time, and it'll be hard for you to spare 4 or 5 days to just learn diving. And why spend your limited days learning how to dive and practicing your skills? That is something that can be done anywhere. You'd rather finish your courses in India, get your certification, and then go to these countries and do fun dives. There's so much more to see there on fun dives rather than in a course. Now let's talk about the various certifying agencies.
PADI, SSI and SDI. How do we differentiate between these certifying agencies, I believe? How do we pick and which is good for me?
So let's just talk about PADI and SSI because they are two major ones. There's not much of a difference, to be honest. It's like choosing between a Nike and a Reebok. It's like which brand you prefer. PADI is the first governing body that started with recreational courses. Right now, I believe 70 or 75% of certified divers around the world are PADI certified divers.
PADI is definitely more popular, and you'll see that worldwide the number of PADI dive centers are more. You will also find a lot of dive centers that offer both PADI and SSI courses, and a lot of the instructors are also certified in both PADI and SSI.
SSI is now a growing market. They're also establishing their brand quite well, both in India and abroad. But the experience that you get, the skills that you learn, it's more or less structured the same way.
And if you talk about course structure, then both PADI and SSI have an open water course that certifies you to dive up to 18 meters. In PADI, where you have the advanced open water course, in SSI you have the advanced adventurer course. It's basically the same thing, and both of these courses certify you to dive up to 30 meters. In both the PADI and SSI courses, the syllabus is the same, and the number of dives you get and the number of days of diving you get is also the same. PADI is rumored to be slightly more expensive, but as per my experience, the prices are also more or less the same. I've seen that the price highly depends on the dive center rather than the certifying body that they are affiliated with. A dive center that is well established and has already built their brand is likely to charge you a premium irrespective of whether they are affiliated with PADI or an SSI.
A lot of people think that PADI is more globally known. So people sometimes have this fear that if I do SSI, my license or my certificate might not be recognized.
No. Absolutely not.
Both PADI and SSI are well known globally, so your diving license will be accepted anywhere in the world, and you can even switch from one organization to the other at any given point of time.
Let's say you're an SSI open water diver, you want to upgrade it to the advanced and you want to do it with PADI. Absolutely not a problem. Because ultimately whatever you have done in the SSI open water course, the same things you would have done if you had done the PADI course. So you have met all the requirements, you've gone through all those same skills.
So it comes down to the big question, which one should I go for, PADI or SSI? Well, honestly, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be choosing between PADI and SSI. What you should actually be choosing is your dive center, and more specifically your instructor. I can't stress enough on how important it is to learn with the right instructor. When you contact your dive center, ask them if you can speak to the instructor, and don't hesitate to insist on speaking with the very instructor that you will be diving with, and not just their chief instructor or probably another instructor who may not be present during your course. Just a small conversation with your instructor will be enough to give you an idea of whether you are comfortable with them or not and how happy you are with the way they are explaining things to you. Try to find out how many years have they been teaching since, because their experience really matters. Also, don't forget to check the language in which the instructor will be teaching you. Let's say you are not comfortable with Hindi or you are not comfortable with English, then check all of this beforehand. If you can't really understand your instructor, then no matter how good they are, it's not really gonna matter. Another very important question to ask is the instructor-student ratio. The batch size should ideally not be more than 3 students per instructor, because it's very important to get personalized attention while learning how to dive. You should also ask the dive center how many courses they teach in a year and how many students they certify each year, because some dive centers usually cater to tourists and do more of try dives and discover scuba dives. Because if their instructors only have experience in taking tourists for one-day dives, then that's not something you want. But if their instructors are teaching lots of courses every year, then that means they have good experience in teaching, and that's something we want. If you're considering doing the advanced open water course, and if you have your heart set on a particular specialty, for example, if you really want to do a night dive or if you really want to do a shipwreck dive, don't forget to ask the dive center whether this particular specialty will be possible with them or not. However, this question will depend more on the location, but you should check with your dive center. It will help you to make a more informed decision.
Do I need to know swimming to do an open water course or an advanced open water course?
Absolutely. Basic swimming skills are required. The prerequisite for the open water course is that you have to swim for 200 meters and float or tread in the water for 10 minutes. So we will be checking that. We don't take students who do not know
So
swimming.
you just say
No, absolutely. I tell them learn swimming, come to us after 6 months.
What would you say to a person who knows how to swim but is not that good at it?
See, I've had students who are like very basic swimmers. An average swimmer is good enough. The prerequisite is just to see that you are comfortable in the water.
Does a student need any particular fitness level?
You need to be in reasonably good health. There is a medical form that every diver has to fill out. You should not be having any health condition, any disease or anything.
And you have to be absolutely fit to do scuba diving. What about like strength and stamina?
Basics. It's not like hardcore. It's not necessary you have to go to a gym every day, lift weights.
Even if you're not a regular
Absolutely.
work out regularly,
Absolutely.
it's fine.
Absolutely.
Just to clarify, you can still try scuba diving without getting certified. It's called a Discover Scuba Dive.
Discover Scuba Diving is basically an experienced dive where even if someone does not know swimming, we take them for a very closely supervised dive. First, there is some e-learning where they watch a video and we first take you to shallow waters. There are a bunch of skills that we practice with you and then we start the dive. And now throughout the dive, we maintain contact with you. We do not let go of you even for a second. Your maximum depth is 12 meters.
What is the rough cost of a DSD?
Anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000. It depends whether you're doing a shore dive or a boat dive. It's like dive center dependent as well.
Especially if you're not sure whether you want to commit to an entire course, which is 3 to 4 days of continuous diving, then it is definitely a good idea to at least try out diving first. And if you're wondering that if you can scuba dive without a certification, then why bother doing these certification courses? I mean, do you even need it? Well, that is a very valid question to have. Essentially, learning how to dive, your certification course, is only the beginning of your scuba diving journey. It only gives you the knowledge and the skill required to then go out and explore the underwater world on your own. And you will be controlling your own movements and operating your own equipment. You will be the one diving for yourself rather than your instructor holding you throughout. And the dive professional in charge will only be responsible for showing you the dive site rather than making you dive.
When you are doing a DST, you are going where the dive professional is taking you. The freedom is not there.
As compared to like advanced open water, we are like swimming like fish.
I used to think that as soon as you get your certification, you can just go diving anywhere in the world on your own and all you need to do is just rent equipment. And I realized that a lot of people have this notion, but that's not exactly how it works.
Yeah, I will not suggest if you have just completed your open water or advanced course and just those dives you've had to go out and just dive on your own. You're a very new diver. You still need to have more dives under your belt before you can decide that okay, chalo, as friends we go diving without a dive profession. See, a lot can happen underwater. Situation can just change underwater in the split of a second. Currents can just pick up. Thermocline can just come in where visibility will go with zero. You won't know which direction to go. You won't know where is the boat. But that's where your dive professional comes handy. They know the in and out of the dive site.
I would flip. If I lost you for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I would flip.
Yes.
Most people that I know, even long after getting their certification and even after doing a lot more dives, they still continue to dive with a dive professional. So now let's come to why most people get certified. Firstly, diving gets a lot cheaper when you're certified. So if you ever visit dive centers and you check out the rate card, you'll see that the rates for particular dives are a lot cheaper for certified divers. And why this happens is because when they take a group of certified divers, one instructor can take a bunch of people diving together because as much personalized attention is not needed because everybody knows what they're doing and everybody has learned how to dive.
Once you're certified, once you're going fun diving, you're not a responsibility of the dive professional at that time. When you're doing the course, you are a responsibility. When you're going as a fun diver, the dive professional will expect you to know your jazz. They are not going to come and hold your hand या spoon feed you. 10 बार पूछेगा हवा कितना है, नहीं. पूरा dive में शायद एक ही बार पूछेगा. बीच-बीच में शायद 1-2 बार घूम के देखेगा तुम लोग कहाँ हैं. वो तुमको some चीज दिखाता जाएगा. यहाँ पे ये है, यहाँ पे वो है. Yeah, of course, you get into a mess. Of course, they will come and sort you out. But it's not a major responsibility because you've done the course. You've learnt everything.
Also, you'll see that some of the dives are only accessible to certified divers. If you're not certified, you can only go up to 12 meters, but if you're certified, you can go to 18 or 30 meters, depending on whether you've done your open water or an advanced open water. And the most exciting part about being certified is that you can finally go on liveaboards. There are basically these dive vacations where you go live on a yacht or on a boat in the middle of the ocean and you spend most of your time diving. And this boat takes you to multiple dive sites within 6 to 7 days. And if you check out these trips, they will all have a minimum requirement of being at least an open water certified diver or at least an advanced open water diver.
Open water will allow me to dive anywhere. It certifies me to go up to 18 meters. So why do I need advanced?
If you are an open water diver, you cannot go to any deep site. You went to Johnny's, you did Broken Ledge. Those are all deep sites.
Yeah.
Open water students cannot go there because the reef starts at 20 meters. An open water diver is certified to dive up to 18 meters. Advanced course, you will be certified to dive up to 30 meters. The depth that increases, just more sites are accessible to you. You can dive shipwrecks. When you are also diving deeper, you get to see a lot more pelagic animals over there. Your mantas, sharks, you'll find them in deeper waters. You're not going to find them close to shore or in the shallower waters.
The fun doubles with the depth.
Absolutely, there is no doubt in that. See, with the advanced course, you are honing your skills. It just gets their buoyancy so much better. They get so much more comfortable in the water. This is what rises their confidence. And the more confident you are, your air consumption will get better. You will just become a better diver. It's like taking it to the next level, basically.
Let's say if I've done open water in 2024 and I want to come back for advanced open water in 2027 and I haven't dived in the middle.
Yeah, then definitely we won't do the advanced course without doing a refresher dive, where we refresh most of the skills with you. We practice the skills with you in the water and then we take you for a short mini dive post it, and that basically refreshes you.
Is it a mandatory requirement?
Yes.
Or
Because in the advanced course we have to do a deep dive. So a deep dive, the dynamics are a little different from your shallow dives, and even for the student as well, for them to even remember what do they have to do, how do they go down, how do they come up, how to equalize. You will not remember most of these things in that long a gap.
is there a mandatory requirement that if you return within this period, then you don't have to do a refresher dive, and if you return after this period for advanced, then you have to do a refresher dive?
So for that, what we advise is anyone who has not dived for a period of 6 months to a year at least, then ideally you should go for a refresher dive.
If you're especially short on time, then you can check with some dive centers who have their head offices in your city. A lot of the dive centers conduct their confined water dives in swimming pools in the city. This will help you save at least 2 days, as you'll be done with your confined water dives and then you only have to do your open water dives in, let's say, an Andaman or a Pondicherry.
Do you have any message for anyone who is a little worried about doing a course? Maybe they're feeling claustrophobic or they're scared of the idea.
Yes, we do have our fears before we try out a new thing. Same goes with diving as well. I always tell my students, have faith in yourself. Trust your instructor. That's it. Leave it on us. Just don't think, oh my god, I have gone deep. What's going to happen? Nothing is going to happen to you. It's our responsibility to take care of you, to ensure that you learn the skills that requires you to become a diver. Because once you practice those skills and you go for those open water dives, you will just realize you were probably having these fears for nothing. I have had students who are claustrophobic, who have literally dipped their face into the water and have jumped up. All I do is I just talk through them, like I just trust me, you're with me, I'll hold your hand, maybe. If I feel the student is still a little panicky, having a little anxiety, I take them for a short dive and I just show them what is there, and the minute they see that, they just forget all their fears and they have come out like, oh my god, like what is this? Having done that, so many words I have heard over the years. Don't worry about it, you know you're better, you're fit to dive. Leave everything else on the instructor, it's our job.
All of the scuba diving equipment and gear is usually provided by most of the dive centers and it's included in the course fees. The only thing you need to carry is a swimsuit, which you will be wearing under the wetsuit. The wetsuit too is provided by the dive center itself. Certain chemicals present in your sunscreen can be extremely harmful for coral reefs. Even a small quantity can do great damage to them. And yes, even one person applying a harmful sunscreen will make a difference. So it is extremely important that the sunscreen that you apply during your course is reef safe. Look, diving on your period is not really a problem as such, but if you're usually in a lot of pain during your period or if you get a lot of cramps, then it's probably a good idea to plan your certification course in such a way that it doesn't coincide with your period date. Because if you're in a lot of pain, then you won't really be able to concentrate on learning the skills and you won't even be able to enjoy your dive for that matter. But otherwise, if you're more or less comfortable during your period, then there's absolutely no problem with diving on your period. Female dive instructors do it all the time and it's very much doable. I myself was on my period during my certification course and it was absolutely no issue at all. Now coming to the menstrual hygiene products, you obviously cannot use a sanitary napkin while diving. So your two options are either tampons or a menstrual cup. If you're going to be on a boat, then it can be a problem to dispose your tampon. And also menstrual cups last you longer than a tampon, so you can just empty your menstrual cup when you're done with diving for the day. Also, since menstrual cups are not single-use disposable, they're a lot better for the environment and also a cheaper solution. If you want to take pictures and videos underwater, you're going to need an action camera. So something like a GoPro, an Insta360 or a DJI Osmo Action. Now these action cameras can be used as it is on the surface because they are waterproof. But if you're going to take them for scuba diving, you're going to take them to depths like 18 meters, 30 meters, and the pressure is really high at these depths. So you're going to need a waterproof housing that looks something like this. If you can get a dive filter which is red in color, then even better. A lot of people also like to use selfie sticks underwater because it gives you a really nice wide shot of yourself. But be careful because your stick can easily get rusted in the water. Also, it can be very inconvenient to handle a selfie stick while scuba diving, especially if you're in the learning stage. Why don't we use the floaty?
If you use the floaty, what will happen is it will be floating over here. When you are doing your skills, it will be an interruption for you. See?
Okay. You'll also have to attach your camera to your BCD using a tether just in case it slips out of your hand, and also it's not possible to constantly hold your camera while scuba diving.
Can you briefly tell me the path after advanced open water if somebody is interested to pursue diving?
If you still want to stay a recreational diver and not become a professional, then after you advance, you can do your rescue course where you will learn how to rescue another diver. It prepares you for emergency situations.
You can do this immediately after advance?
For the rescue course, you need a minimum of 20 lodge dives. And EFR, which is emergency first response, that is also mandatory.
If I want to further pursue it,
Then it will be your first level as a dive pro, that is your dive master course. To start a dive master course, you need a minimum of 40 lodge dives, and by the end of the dive master course, you should have 60 lodge dives. Just your dive master course will take you around a month and a half.
I've seen that a lot of people on the island are doing their dive master training and working simultaneously. It's helping them to cut down their training costs.
It's a very common practice over here where we take in dive master trainees. They work as interns. They are doing everything related to the dive center work, and they are doing their course as well.
How much is the fee for the dive master course?
85,000 to a lakh.
If I'm working simultaneously, does it get reduced or does it get completely waived off?
No, it does not get completely waived off. I would say around 50% can get
Reduced. Up to 40 dives, you need to figure it out.
You should have already logged 40 dives.
Between 40 to 60 ka journey, the dive shop helps you.
Yes.
The next step is instructor.
Instructor development course, which is before your IE, that is your instructor final exam. By the end of it, you should have logged 100 dives. That preparation takes you around 3 weeks to a month.
And can this also again be done while working for a dive center?
No, but IDC is a lot more hectic. There is lots more theory to it. You're just busy studying for the course.
So how do I make my journey from 60 to 100 dives? Again, I have to shell out money from my pocket?
Yes. Or what you can do is, if you're interning with a dive shop, then you can basically work and return for them, you know.
That being said, big thank you to Devlina for giving us a call. And I really hope this helps you to plan your scuba diving journey after having all of this information. The ocean is waiting.
Yeah, happy diving!